Hello and welcome. In the previous chapter, in chapter 4, we talked about how to open a corporate bank account for your China WFOE. That is an LTD company that you register in China. Now, in chapter 5, in this video, we will be discussing visa and work permit and residence permit questions. So let's jump into it. If you look at the screen, I divided the video into several parts here. So first of all, we need to understand what is a work permit, because in many other countries, including China, there are two main concepts that you have to understand as a foreign business owner. So one is work permit, another one is residence permit. In some countries, they are divided into separate parts, like work permit is separate and residence permit is separate. In some countries, they are combined into one. In China, when you are a foreign employee or even of your own company, you have to go through these two separate concepts basically, and these are like two stages. One is work permit, another one is residence permit. So let's start with work permit. What is this? Okay, we previously discussed this topic. Actually, in all the years, there are separate videos for it, 2020, 21, 23. You can go ahead and watch this as well. And in 24, there are changes. So I'm going to mention them here. So work permit card is basically given to foreign employees for certain years. And usual length is 1 year. Okay, we have seen shorter than that. We have seen longer than that as well. But usually when you are applying for the first time as the company owner, and at the same time the employee, foreign employee of your own company, maybe your position is director, maybe your position is a supervisor of the company, you are still considered an employee of the company. So therefore you need to apply for work permit. And when you're applying for the first time, you will be usually given for 1 year. Okay, that is the average length you get. For some reason, they might issue you shorter as well if they find some issues in the application. Maybe you cannot, convince them that you are a genuine employee. In that case, you might also receive it for a shorter period of time as well, usually 6 months if there are any issues. But most of the time, it's for 1 year. So when we're talking about work visa, in China, work visa consists of these two separate concepts. One is work permit card that I've discussed right now. And then once you obtain that work permit card, it's a plastic card that is given to you. Once you obtain that, you will have to go to the second stage, which is residence permit. Residence permit is usually linked and is usually given with the same length as your work permit card. That is usually. But of course, like I said, there are always exceptions. For example, we've come across with the situation where clients' work permit card is for 1 year, but his residence permit is shorter than that. It can be anywhere between 1 month to 1 year. I have seen, like it was pre-pandemic, there was a client from Central Asia, and for some reason the immigration officers were not satisfied with his application. So they gave him 1 month's residence permit. Residence permit is usually gives you the right to work here for the same company. It's not open type of residence permit, meaning that in some countries you get the residence permit and then it's open. You can even look for a job or work part-time, etc. But in China, that's not the case. In China, residence permit is both actually, work permit and residence permit. They are given specifically to one company. Okay, so in this case, what we're discussing here, our client's company is the sponsoring company of these two things, work permit and residence permit. Means that you cannot go ahead and work for a second company or third company, or you cannot even generate part-time income by doing other businesses. So you have to pay attention to that. All of your employees, including the company owner. And actually, most often I receive these questions as well. Like, I am the company owner and I want to apply for work visa, they say. To that, we usually say that if you're just a company owner, you're not entitled automatically to apply for work permit or residence permit under your company. Why? Because in order to apply for them, you have to have a position in the company. If you have not assigned any position to yourself, that's a typical scenario as well. For example, there are like 3 owners in the company. One of them is the company director, one of them is a supervisor. And the third one, it doesn't have a specific position in the company. So in that case, they sometimes ask, can I also apply for visa? The answer to this question is no, you cannot. Because like I said, work permit card requires you to have a specific position in the company. So in that case, you need to assign yourself a position. It can be any position, literally, as long as it's linked to your experience. So regarding experience, I'm going to talk about them in a moment. If you give me one moment, please. So I will show you the screen, okay? And we're going to go through the requirements for each category, because work permit card in China is divided into several categories. There are different categories depending on your position, depending on your situation, even company situation. So let's start one by one. Now, let's quickly look at the screen first, so we can cross off the topics that we have discussed. Work permit card, we've already gone through it, so it's done. It means that's a plastic card which is given to you usually for 1 year for the first time, and second, third time, maybe you can get it for longer period, maybe 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years. And second one is residence permit. That is the sticker. That is a sticker on your passport, okay? Like I mentioned, it can be between 1 month and 1 year, depending on the interview results, because when you're applying for residence permit, you will go through the interview, okay? An interview as well, it's not mandatory for everybody. Like, it's not like 100% you will get the interview, but the immigration, most often than not, they are requesting for interview, okay? Nowadays especially. So you have to anticipate it, and when you're called for interview, you have to be ready to go there, speak to the immigration officer, and talk about your position. And obviously, in the case of you are the owner of the company, you need to be able to explain your business. Obviously, as the company director or as the company supervisor, they will ask you general questions about what's the business, why Shanghai, why Yiwu, etc., why Guangzhou, and what are your expectations in terms of turnover, etc., questions. And at this moment, I need to highlight as well, or rather include, for work permit card, you're not interviewed, okay? It never happens. It's usually online, you have to, if you do it yourself, you have to fill out the application online and put upload all the experience, copy of the diploma, passport, etc., and then wait for 5 to 10 business days, depending on the category. Now, in a moment, we're going to discuss the categories. So depending on the category, it's between 5 and 10 days. You wait for them to reply to you. Once approved, you can go to the labor bureau, local labor bureau, where your company is registered, and you pick up that card, physical card. And then immediately after that, on the same day, if you wish, you can go and apply for residence permit sticker. Okay, I hope this clears, because I know, I'm talking and I'm listening to myself. Yeah, it's very complicated for, a casual person. If you're not doing this on a daily basis, it sounds very complicated. Therefore, actually, we recommend our clients hiring a licensed agency, okay? We have a partner in Shanghai who are licensed to deal with work permit card and residence permit cards. And they are the professional of their work, so they can take care of all the steps for work permit and all the steps for resident permit. Your job in this process will be, as a company owner and also the employee of your company, to appear. Okay, you just have to go physically wherever they say. Basically, it's usually two places. One is the Labor Bureau for the work permit card. The second one is the Immigration Office. And this is actually the change from previous years, guys. In previous years, I mentioned in many videos, if you watched, it was not possible, actually it was not quite legal to hire an agency, although agencies have existed, since the beginning, actually. Work agency, visa agencies, they exist all the time. But in previous years, the immigration here in China, they were not giving any licenses, or they were not authorizing any agencies. And now it's open, so there are agencies which are authorized by the Immigration Office. So when you are contacting a visa agency, first thing you have to ask is actually their authorization letter. So make sure you check their authorization letter or permit, and make sure that they have that necessary permit to help you with the work permit and residence permit applications. Otherwise, it's kind of illegal, and you are becoming part of the illegal action here. So this is something you don't want to do. Okay. At the end of the day, this is your visa application and your situation at risk, not theirs. All right. So this is something very important. You have to pay attention. So coming back to the topic, in order to simplify everything, we always recommend working with authorized visa agencies. We can recommend to, there is a partner company, we can recommend them to our clients. Now, moving on to the next topic is types of work permit. As you can see here, they are A, B, C, okay? And then there is one B as an investor, okay? It's not written, this last one, the investor one, it's not written on your work permit card. It's just still says B, but in the background, probably in the system, there is an investor subcategory as well to it, which I'm going to cover now. So, okay, let's look at this article that we have written. Actually, it was written back in December, closer to the end 2023, year 2023, because we do it every year. So this article talks about the frequently asked questions, as you can see here. Frequently asked questions in 2023. So I really recommend you go through this article, because there are some questions many people ask, not directly related to the visa questions, but still doing business in China. So as you can scroll down, first thing you see here, the video of myself prepared for this topic, how to register a company in China in 2022. Actually most of the parts are still valid, but the updated videos are these, actually chapter series now. We are on chapter 5. So there are questions here, and then what you can see here is the work permit category, which is related to today's chapter, which is can I get a work visa if I register a company in China? So this one explains all the categories in detail. Okay, you can see here, eligibility for a work visa in China depends on your qualifications, which I mentioned earlier. Qualifications are mandatory. Okay, even if you own the company, even if you are the 100% owner of the company, qualifications matter. If you're not qualified, then you cannot apply. Like I said, becoming an owner of the company does not automatically make you eligible. Okay, you need to understand that. So, and position you held in the company. Registering a company does not automatically entitle you to a work visa. The applicant must meet specific criteria. So as you can see here, when we say, when we use the terminology, which is work visa, we have to automatically understand in China, in the Chinese context, that work visa is divided into two things, like work permit card and residence permit card. Together, both of them, in combination, they mean the work visa. This is what they mean, okay, when everybody talks about work visa in China. So next paragraph, as you can see here, there are three types of work permit in China: category A, category B, and category C, each with slightly different requirements. The usual one here, let me put it there, the first one here is category B. Okay, that is the typical one. Majority of the foreign employees, they get and they apply. But of course, let's start with A so that we cover that as well. A is usually for highly skilled employees. And of course, it's directly related to the finances. As you can see, these are the requirements. Minimum 60,000 yuan every month. You can convert yuan, okay? Even there are some people who are asking me, what is the conversion rate? Come on. You can Google it, convert it, okay? Whatever the rate is. Most importantly, while in China, we're talking about in yuans. So you need to pay yourself, if you're the company owner, you need to be able to pay yourself 60,000 yuan a month salary. And that is a commitment. So, because naturally you might wonder that I registered the company recently and I haven't paid myself yet. Obviously, yes, that is the commitment. So when you're applying, you're telling to the immigration office that I am committed to paying 60,000 yuan a month. All right. So you actually sign papers by saying it's kind of promise that you will keep this promise. And then this 60,000 yuan a month will generate 10,000 RMB a month personal income tax. And personal income tax, like we covered in previous videos, it's automatically deducted from your salary and then paid using your company account. You don't have to use your personal bank account here to pay your personal taxes. Personal taxes are deducted from the salary, kept in the company account, and then tax office is going to deduct it from the company account, okay? Withdraw it from the company account. Minimum 2 years related work experience. Related must be, just to illustrate you, for example, obviously you're starting a company in some area of business. Let's pick the usual one, import and export business, okay? So when you're providing work experience from your home country, that is also important to note. Actually, if you haven't worked in China, you cannot provide work experience from China, obviously. So from any other country outside of China, when you're providing this 2 years work experience, then you have to look at that experience. Maybe you have a bunch of other experiences. So make sure you're providing related one to import and export, because this is what your company will be for, right? Import and export. If you're providing some, let's say, teaching experience, many people do, then obviously immigration office is going to question it. If you're a teacher, you become, all of a sudden, company owner and you want to do import and export, it's kind of questionable, okay? So you have to anticipate some challenges in the process of application. So what we advise is you pick your experience carefully. Well, obviously, most of the clients, they have more experience than 2 years. So you can pick actually which companies you worked for, which is the most related to import and export in this scenario, okay? So if you're opening sports consulting business, obviously you need to provide related sports experience, all right? You cannot provide a cooking experience, for example. It will create further questions. Medical check from China, obviously. This is something you get at a designated hospital in China, at the place of application. Usually, if the application is in Shanghai, there's a designated hospital. They work with immigration office. They are, assigned for this task, and you go to this hospital. Current rate is 600 yuan. You pay that 600 yuan, go through medical check, and they will give you medical certificate. After that, physical office rental agreement. Obviously, the company that you started in China should have a physical office. This is another frequently asked question. Actually, we get often asked, do you provide an office? Well, I think this question comes from mostly inexperienced applicants. I'm really sorry to say that. Why? Because logically speaking, office is something related to your business plan, okay? We cannot just register a company and provide you with office space. We might assist you in finding an office space. That can be done, of course, free of charge. When you become a client, we can recommend you this building, that building. Inside the building there are a bunch of offices, but asking whether we provide office space is kind of ridiculous as well, because we don't know how many employees you will have. We don't know how much is your budget is. Even if you tell us, it's kind of, you haven't seen the office, right? So what we recommend is actually, you come here to China, you rent an office by visiting those office spaces. There are so many options. Budget, we talked about in previous videos, starts from 2,000 yuan a month and upwards. Okay, depending on the region, the place, facilities, the building, atmosphere, etc. All of that affects the price. So, and just a note as well, if you go below 2,000 yuan a month, again, immigration office might not take you seriously. Okay, it's kind of trying to be cheap is not going to look good on your application actually. So what we recommend is you don't go below 2,000 yuan a month. If you go below that, you have to expect some questions on that as well. Why? Because typical office price in Shanghai or any big cities in China, they're not cheaper than 2,000 yuan. Anything cheaper than 2,000 yuan, it's not serious business. So obviously, Chinese government is trying to filter not serious businesses as well. So you have to really understand it right. And that's about the office. So once you sign an office agreement, you need to provide the lease agreement, obviously. Attach it on your visa application. An apartment rental agreement. That's also very important. A lot of people actually say, oh, can I stay in a hotel, etc. Well, you can stay in a hotel, but we don't really recommend it because hotel is going to be extremely expensive. You can use that money, rent an apartment, sign a lease agreement. Okay, there are service departments as well, which include some cleaning, etc. Small things. So, and then regarding the price of the apartment, I have a video on the channel here. You can go ahead and watch that, like expenses in Shanghai. We can provide you some reference prices. Okay, just to give you an idea. Apartment prices start from, let's say, 5,000 yuan and, well, minimum maybe 4,000 yuan and upwards, depending on the region, facilities, etc. And of course, the application. So that is typical requirements. These are the requirements for category A, highly skilled work permit card. And next one, as you can see here, category B. Category B also has this difference from category A. As you can see, actually, I would like to, highlight this. So, for example, category A does not require you to have a degree. That is the difference. That's why it costs a lot. Although it's for highly skilled, the skill here is not related to the academic degree. It's related to the practical skills, probably. So that's why there's no degree requirement, and also for now, there's no requirement for criminal background check. Okay, for now I say because it might change. But category B, as you can see here, it starts from minimum bachelor's degree from a recognized university. I actually reply to this question a lot because we get questions from different parts of the world, and people say, well, I have a college degree, I have school certificate, or I studied language course in China, can I use that instead? The answer to all of these questions is unfortunately no, you cannot. It's impossible to use anything lower than bachelor's degree. Okay, even your certificate or diploma is equal to bachelor's degree. Even in that case, you cannot use that, unfortunately so. Because in China, it clearly says that the degree you have to provide should be minimum bachelor's degree, which has to say on the diploma, it is a bachelor's degree, okay, not a diploma. Because there are some diplomas like it says bachelor diploma. No, cannot say that. Okay, it has to be bachelor's degree. It's an academic title actually. Bachelor's degree, master's degree, and then PhD, doctorate degree. So it has to say that, and most importantly, it has to come from a recognized university, guys. Recognized means you need to be able to go to UN database, United Nations database. It's online, you can check it, and then search your university name and it must pop up. Okay, it has to be in the list. If it's not in the list, unfortunately, you cannot use that diploma. Now, related minimum 2 years work experience, we covered that. Non-criminal background check, this is also very important. That is not required in category A. So category B, it requires, if you're a citizen of the United States, you need to contact your local police, get a criminal background check from them, and then apostille it. By the way, yeah, diploma should be apostilled as well. You need to understand that. If you studied in your own country, you do the apostille for the diploma, the degree, and then for your criminal background check in your home country. If you studied, however, being a US citizen, you studied in the UK, then your diploma must go through apostille process in the UK, because the requirement is in the place of issuance. So if it's UK, then you need to contact the apostille in the UK and get it done. There are a bunch of agencies actually provide apostille services. It's not an issue. And next one, medical check, we covered that. Physical office space, we covered that. Apartment rental, we covered that. And application, we covered that. Now let me, before we go ahead and talk about category C, let me talk about a few more important things, which is apartment. Again, bunch of questions come related to apartment office. So one of them is, can we rent one apartment for our company and then use the rental agreement for all of our employees? The question is, again, this question comes from inexperienced probably, or the companies which are really trying to reduce the costs and being a cheap company. I'm sorry to say that, but these questions and these attempts are not going to look like good on your application. Although logically you can have one apartment under your company, and then depending on the size of the apartment, you can place some employees there as kind of, foreign employees residence. But again, you need to consider the size of the apartment. You cannot put like 10 people in 50 square meter apartment. It will be ridiculous. Okay, honestly speaking, it will be ridiculous because the immigration here, they're not business people. So what they do is they come from logical perspective. Okay, one person can rent an apartment, a studio apartment, usually. Okay, that is the typical scenario in life in big cities. So you have to come from that perspective. At most, 2 people can share an apartment, and their names should be on the lease agreement, both of them. So naturally, if you put like 10 people, 50 square meter apartment is going to look ridiculous, and most often the immigration is not going to favor that. Okay, they will not like that, and they say that, oh, this company is not very serious. Obviously, what they're trying to do is bring a lot of people, but they're not able to pay for them. Okay. So think about that. You put yourself into the shoes of the immigration officer, someone who really doesn't have many business experience. So what he or she do? He look at the situation from the immigration perspective. They don't want a lot of people here who are not qualified enough, who are not able to cover their expenses, or they don't want companies who are coming to China and just for the sake of issuing visas. Okay, so that's not good. And all right, so I hope it makes sense, and you can get this as reference. Okay, this is like kind of a template for you. And now category C, also very important, and this is only for students, international students who studied in China. Here in the bracket you can already see only for students studied in China and about to graduate. There is a difference between A, B, C. Differences between A and B, we already talked about. This is diploma and criminal background check, which is required in category B, but category A does not. So in category C also, as you can see, it requires minimum bachelor's degree from China. Okay, so that's kind of a Chinese diploma from a Chinese university, is a substitute for your lack of experience. Okay, so because category C does not have requirement for experience. So in category A and B, you could see already here minimum 2 years experience. In here, minimum 2 years experience. But when we scroll down for category C, you don't have that requirement. Why? Because like we said, if you studied in China, that is a substitute for your experience. But I want you to pay attention to one element here. Excellent academic performance with grades at least B and more than 80% in all exams. That's very important, guys, because there are some international students, maybe their academic performance is not that well. They maybe scored C or low, and in all the exams, their score was lower than 80%. Unfortunately, category C does not apply for your case, because immigration is going to look at these requirements and then match your situation to them. And if you don't, able to provide or fulfill these requirements, then unfortunately you cannot apply for this. Recommendation letter from the university. That's also another difference. So recommendation letter comes from your maybe academic supervisor or maybe the university international office. It doesn't matter as long as they can recommend you. Okay. And medical check, the same thing. We talked about physical office rental agreement. We talked about this apartment. We talked about an application, obviously. And regarding office, one thing that comes to my mind I need to mention is office, unlike apartment, obviously can be one. So naturally, I mean, it should go without saying, but let me put it there. So unlike apartment, because apartment, like we discussed, should be individual apartment. At most, 2 people can share an apartment, but office can be one office space for all of your employees. But of course, again, it goes without saying, your office space size matters as well. If you have like 10 employees and the office space is only like 40 square meters, again, you look like ridiculous on the application. So we don't really advise that. I mean, generally speaking, as you notice here, what I personally do not recommend to companies is trying to be cheap. Don't do that. If you do that on your application, you should expect some challenges. And if your actions doesn't make any sense, then obviously your employee's application will be refused. Once refused, not like other countries, in China, once you refuse, there's no appeal. So please, pay attention to that. You don't want to be in the position where your company's applications for work visa for your employees is refused, because at the end, you are not able to appeal the decision. The decision of the visa office is final. Like in the UK, I know for sure, in US and Canada, you can appeal the decision. They will give you some time, appeal, and maybe reapply, etc. In China, that's not the case. China, when they refuse the application, they usually give you temporary visa to the employee, to the applicant, and they ask the employee to leave the country. That's it. There's no appeal to it. And why I say you don't want to be in this position is because once there is one refusal, the second application and whatever application afterwards is going to be extra challenging. You can apply still, yes, from outside of China at the Chinese embassy, which requires your company to issue something called work permit notification. On the screen, I put that. So work permit notification usually is we don't recommend, again, to do it yourself. You hire some authorized visa agency. They will be able to generate that letter on the Labor Bureau system. And then once generated, they will give you that letter. You go to the embassy as an employee of this company with the work permit notification letter. You apply at the embassy. Okay. But again, if you had previous refusals, then it's going to be extra challenging for you. Okay. Most often than not, your second and third and onwards applications will be refused. So in the first place, you don't want to get that first refusal. So try to be decent company, okay? Try to appear as a proper company, not like cheapskate, okay? I'm sorry to use this terminology, but that is the reality here. The immigration in all the countries, not only in China, In all of the countries, immigration are the people who filter who comes to the country, okay, even who leaves the country. So if there is any like disbelief in the application, if there is some questions on your application, all of these questions, especially in the business the environment we're talking about, like setting up company, sponsoring your employees visas, etc. This is business, right? So for business, what you want to demonstrate is power, financial power. That's it. And now we come to the next very important, again, please look at the screen. We come to the second, the last part of the question. Now let's say the second part of the type of work permit, which is investor subcategory. Now we have to go back to category B here, because investor category, it exists in category B, although like I said, it's not specifically mentioned on your category B the work permit card, but it exists, okay? It exists in the system. So what does it mean? It means that if you don't have bachelor's degree, there are ways to still apply for this category as investor. It means that you need to invest into your company. Usually it's minimum $10,000, okay, minimum. But what we recommend is putting like $30,000 to $50,000, and the investment should come from your personal account abroad. You cannot bring cash and put it. No, it does not work. So the process is like very standardized. Your personal account as a company owner in China, your personal account should be in your other country, in your own country or other country. So you need to use that account because the name should match, okay? Because you're the owner in China. Your name is there, and your name should be on the account there. So that account should transfer around $30,000, $50,000 into your company, okay? That is the investment. Additional to that, what they require typically is hiring at least one Chinese citizen in China in the place of company registration. If your company is registered in Shanghai, you need to hire one Chinese employee, pay for their pension. Pension cost is around 2,000 yuan a month. So you need to pay that, and then attach this evidence onto your application and apply as kind of investor. That is possible. The second option for investors is usually if you have a lot of experience, typically it's 10, 15. I recommend 15 plus years experience. You can apply through point-based system as well, because you can get a lot of points through your experience, and then that will be the substitute for your diploma, okay? So this is two options actually. Let me put it there. Investor is one, and then I will put it here. The second is point. Okay, so the two options exist for investors, okay, for business people. If you have like 15 plus 20 years experience, point-based. You don't have to invest in point-based system. So we can actually recommend that authorized agency. They will be able to help you with point-based system. Now let's go to the last part of the video. I'm sorry, this part of the video series is longer because this is the most complicated part of the company ownership in China, visas. So last point is, as you can see, how many visas can a company issue? This is also frequently asked question. I think we covered this in the article as well. Yes, how many people can I hire in my Chinese company? There we go. This part, question 20, I recommend going to this article. The link is in the description below. You can click on that link and then go to this article, read through all the questions. But anyways, here's the answer here. Usually, again, you need to put yourself in the shoes of the immigration office. If the company doesn't have any balance in the account, and although your employees qualify perfectly, okay, to these requirements, you cannot sponsor more than 2 visas. 2 visas are company director, company supervisor, typically. This is the perfect scenario. They let company director and supervisor get their visas, okay? And in this scenario, actually in this situation, company director visa must be first. it is mandatory. If the company director does not have his or her visa from the company yet, then company cannot sponsor supervisor's visa. Obviously, it's like a company without a head, it doesn't exist. Company director cannot be outside of China. So if you are planning to hire company supervisor as well, then you need to sponsor company director's visa first. So these two people, they usually can apply, provided they're qualified, without any investment, without any balance in the company account. But if you're planning to hire third person, fourth person, etc., foreign employee, then obviously, logically, you can come from the expenses perspective. The company is located in Shanghai or in Guangzhou or in Beijing. You need to come from the expenses in that city. So that is your starting point. You need to think one employee how much is going to spend. And obviously, you don't want to be cheap again here. What you want to be is demonstrate a typical, financial stats, like typical rent, how much in the place of registration. In Shanghai, let's assume that is 6,000 yuan, for example. And then typical salary, how much? It's 20,000 yuan, for example, for foreign employee. And then this kind of thing. So you add this up, of course, per employee, you need to put that money per year, okay? Not 1 month expenses, yearly expenses. The company should demonstrate that. So what we recommend is for the third person, $10,000, $15,000 investment. You put that in the company account, you demonstrate that power, that the company is able to now hire the third one. Fourth one, the same thing. Okay, it's $10,000, $15,000 in the company account. The company again is able to demonstrate that it can hire 2 more employees, etc. Okay, so per additional employee, starting from the third one, typical investment is between $10,000 to $15,000 dollars. So that is basically it, briefly speaking. Again, it's not actually brief. The video has lasted long, actually. Apologies for that, but I try to cover most of the questions, frequently asked questions here, related to work and residence permit. If you have any questions, feel free to email us, and you can send all of your questions, and we'll be glad to answer in text form. Once again, if you would like to call or schedule a Zoom meeting, I invite you to book a call through our website here, and there's a section called appointments. You can go there, select the date and time, and pay for the consultation, and it's paid, obviously. I hope you understand it. I keep repeating myself because it makes sense. We spend time, we spend energy, we spend resources to consult you, so therefore it's paid. We will be glad to address specific questions that apply to your specific situation on this consultation. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next chapters.